This city was never meant to be seen, not because it is hidden, but because it was built to disappear beneath the surface of modern Turkey, beneath normal homes, beneath quiet streets. There is a city carved into stone, not a cave, not a tunnel, a fully functional underground city, and it could hide 20,000 people. This is Derinkuyu, and its existence should not be possible. In the early 1960s, a man was renovating his house. Nothing unusual, no scientists, no excavation, just a wall. Then suddenly, the wall collapsed. Behind it was darkness, not a crack, not a small hole. A passage. The man stepped back confused. He brought a lamp, and he stepped inside. What he found was not a room. It was the entrance to a city. As explorers followed the passage, the air changed. Cooler, heavier, still. Stone stairs led downward. One level, then another, then another. The deeper they went, the larger it became. Rooms, corridors, chambers. This was not random digging. This was planned. Derinkuyu has at least 8 underground levels. Some researchers believe there are more, still unexplored. At its deepest point, it reaches nearly 60 meters underground. That is deeper than a modern building is tall, and every level had a purpose. This was not a place to hide for a few days. Archaeologists discovered living quarters, kitchens, food storage rooms, wine presses, water wells, and schools. Religious chambers. People did not visit this place. They lived here. Then came the doors. Massive circular stone slabs, each weighing over 1 ton, designed to roll into place from the inside. Once closed, no enemy could break through. These were not decorative. They were survival tools. Think carefully. To build something like this, you need fear, not small fear, not temporary fear, a fear so powerful that entire communities agreed to live underground. What were they hiding from? Here's where the story becomes disturbing. Derinkuyu has a ventilation system that reaches every level. Fresh air flows naturally, without machines. Even today, it still works. Primitive people do not design systems like this. The water wells were separate from the surface. If enemies poisoned the water above, life below would continue. This city was built to survive complete isolation. History books tell us ancient humans were simple, barely surviving, uneducated, primitive. But primitive humans do not carve megacities into bedrock. They do not calculate airflow. They do not plan for long-term survival. Derinkuyu proves one thing. They were not primitive. This city was not meant to be defended. It was meant to vanish from the surface. Nothing looked unusual. No walls, no towers, just land. And that is the most terrifying part. Derinkuyu is not the only one. All across Cappadocia, there are hundreds of underground structures. Some are connected by tunnels, stretching kilometers underground. This was not a single project. This was a network. Why build underground instead of upward? Walls are easier. Cities are visible, but underground cities are invisible, which means they were hiding from something that came from above. At some point, a terrifying realization forms. This city was not built in panic. It was built with preparation, with knowledge, with expectation. If they prepared for this, then it means they had seen it before. Derinkuyu is carved into volcanic rock, not soft soil, not loose earth. Solid stone, the kind of rock that breaks modern tools. Yet thousands of years ago, entire chambers were carved with precision. Straight walls, level floors, clean edges. This was not trial and error. This was knowledge. If this city was built slowly over time, we would see chaos. Different styles, different depths, mistakes. But we don't. Every level aligns. Every tunnel connects logically. This city was planned before it was built. Let's talk about air. Derinkuyu has over 50 ventilation shafts. Some reach the surface. Some connect levels. They regulate temperature. They circulate oxygen. Even today, with thousands of tourists, the air does not fail. Primitive societies do not understand airflow physics. Yet here it is, perfect. People cooked food underground. Fires burned. Smoke rose. But the city never filled with carbon. The ventilation system pulled smoke away automatically. No switches, no machines, only design. Now the most shocking detail. The water wells. Some wells connect to the surface. Others do not. This was intentional. If invaders poisoned surface water, underground water remained safe. This is not accidental. This is defensive engineering. The tunnels narrow at specific points. Why? Sound. Footsteps echo differently. Voices travel less. Enemies could not hear movement. Defenders could. The city listened before it saw. No sunlight reaches the lower levels, yet people lived there. For extended periods, oil lamps were used. The walls are shaped to reflect and spread light efficiently. Even lighting was optimized. Let's return to the stone doors. Circular, perfectly balanced. One person could close them. Once shut, they could not be pushed open from outside. Not with force, not with weapons, only from within. This city was designed to trap danger outside. If one level was breached, residents retreated deeper. Door after door, level after level, each section isolated. This is modern military logic. Thousands of years old. Storage rooms were massive. Grain, dried food, wine. This was not for days. This was for years, which raises a terrifying question. You do not design a city like this unless the danger lasts. Not weeks, not months, years. What threat forces an entire population to disappear underground for generations? Here is the strangest part. No written explanation, no warning texts, no carvings explaining the enemy. Almost as if they did not want future generations to remember. History remembers kings, wars, empires. But this, silence. A city erased from memory. On purpose, we credit later civilizations for engineering. Romans, Greeks, but Derinkuyu predates them, yet its logic rivals. Modern underground bunkers. Every system works together. Air, water, defense, food. Remove one, the city fails. Which means it was tested. What if this wasn't the first time? What if earlier cities failed, and this was the solution? What kind of world forces humans to build cities underground? People do not vanish underground for comfort. They disappear when the surface becomes dangerous. Derinkuyu was not built to escape nature. It was built to escape something intelligent. Architecture carries memory. Fear shapes design. And Derinkuyu is shaped by fear. Not sudden fear, not panic, but repeated fear. The kind that returns again and again. Evidence shows Derinkuyu was used multiple times, centuries apart, different cultures, different eras, yet the same response. When danger came, people went underground. That means the threat never fully disappeared. The first explanation seems simple. Invasions, armies passing through Anatolia, wars, religious persecution, and yes, Derinkuyu was used by early Christians, hiding from Roman forces. But that is not the full story, because Christians did not build it. They inherited it. Invasions explain hiding. They do not explain multi-level engineering. They do not explain water isolation. They do not explain sound-controlled corridors. This city was not built for a single enemy. It was built for unknown danger. Some historians suggest climate collapse, sudden cold, drought, famine. But nature does not require stone doors that seal from the inside. Nature does not require silence. Nature does not hunt. Plagues, possibly. Isolation underground can slow infection, but plagues do not last centuries, and they do not require labyrinths designed to confuse attackers. At this point, historians hesitate because the pattern becomes uncomfortable. Large underground networks, hidden entrances, long-term survival planning. This looks less like reaction and more like preparation. What if ancient people knew something was coming? Not once, but repeatedly. What if they learned the surface was not always safe? Old myths speak of times when the world changed suddenly. Fire from the sky, darkened suns, shaking ground. Stories dismissed as legend, but legends are memories without timestamps. If danger came from above, the ground becomes shelter, stone becomes protection, silence becomes survival. Underground cities begin to make sense. Here is the most disturbing detail. They left no explanation, no warning for the future, no instructions, as if they believed remembering was dangerous. Sometimes civilizations choose to forget because memory keeps fear alive, because knowledge can be misused, because repeating the past can bring the danger back. Derinkuyu was not a monument. It was not meant to inspire awe. It was meant to save lives quietly, without attention. Maybe the enemy was not a single force. Maybe it was instability itself. A world that changed suddenly. A world where visibility meant vulnerability. A world where survival required disappearance. If ancient people prepared like this, then they understood something we often ignore. Civilization is fragile, and history does not move in a straight line. So ask yourself, if Derinkuyu was built because the surface became unsafe, what made it safe again? And why do we assume it cannot happen again? Derinkuyu was not forgotten by accident. It was forgotten because it does not fit the story we like to tell ourselves. History prefers simplicity. Progress moves forward. Technology improves slowly. Civilization climbs step by step. Derinkuyu breaks that illusion. It appears complete, functional, prepared, not experimental. There are no statues here, no kings carved into walls, no victories recorded, no names remembered. That tells us something important. This city was not built to glorify power. It was built to preserve life. Derinkuyu was not a home. It was a contingency plan, a second world beneath the first, silent, hidden, waiting. While life continued above ground, another civilization stood ready below. One day, people stopped coming, not because the city failed, but because the danger faded. Or at least, they believed it had. They returned to the surface. They sealed the entrances. They left the city intact, not destroyed, not looted. Ready. Abandoned places usually show panic, broken tools, scattered belongings, signs of desperation. Derinkuyu shows none of that. It was left calmly, deliberately, as if the builders believed they might need it again. Ancient people were not reckless. They planned for worst-case scenarios. They prepared for futures they hoped would never arrive. They understood something we often forget. Our world feels permanent. Cities glow at night. Systems feel stable. But everything we depend on exists on the surface. Electricity, communication, food supply, all vulnerable. Derinkuyu teaches a quiet lesson. Survival does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the prepared, to those willing to step away from pride, to those who plan instead of deny. Derinkuyu does not celebrate progress. It warns against certainty. It suggests that advanced societies can disappear, and that survival may require going backward before moving forward again. That is not a comforting message. Even today, people walk above Derinkuyu, unaware. Beneath their feet lies proof that humans once prepared for the unthinkable and survived. Derinkuyu is not a mystery, meant to impress us. It is a reminder, a warning, a question. If ancient people believed the surface could become unsafe, what makes us so sure they were wrong? Derinkuyu does not demand attention. It does not ask to be admired. It waits, silent, intact, patient, A city built not for history, but for survival. This underground city should not exist, but it does. And that fact changes everything.